everybody, Willow here. Welcome to So Many Whatnots. This is the Farmer's Wife 1930 Sampler Quilt series, and today we will be working on number 3, Alice. Look at all those pieces. There's so many. Oh my goodness. This is going to be a long video, guys. I'm going to guess a 4-hour block. I have only had one other 4-hour block so far, and I think this might be one. But we're going to do it. So this might be a 2-day project for me, and it might be a longer project for you. So I'm going to try not to talk as much, but we will see what happens. And yeah, it's going to take us a long time to cut those pieces out. So let me move this board. I'm going to rearrange a little. I haven't made a block in, about a week, I think. So I'm a little disorganized here. Okay, number 3, Alice. Here we go. All right, we have some purple, some yellow, and then a print, and a lot of pieces. And so the construction is similar to what we've done before. I'm finding a lot of these blocks are put together in this way, where you have 2 main triangles and then a center strip. Now our center strip is made up of 3 blocks, like 3 squares and 2 smaller triangles. And our 2 big triangles are made out of what looks like to be a square and 3 triangles. So there's going to be a lot of little piecing going on. A lot of little piecing going on. All right, let's start with I feel like starting with, well, let's get the pieces out. Let's start there. Let's start with the pieces. There's so many. Okay. And see if we have any duplicates. I see just one, I think. All right, so. Wow, this is going to be a fun day. Lots of cutting. Okay, I'm going to kind of organize these just a little bit. There are some duplicates, but I'm going to start at the top. So 3A is purple. 3B is yellow. 3C is purple and yellow. This block, this looks a little off to me, like a little crooked, and I don't believe it's supposed to be. Do you see what I mean there? It's a little wonky. It's not square. So I may find another one, or just, let's see, there's 4 and 5. I may just measure those out because they look off. So I'm going to set this one aside for the moment. Okay, 3D is purple. Look how tiny that is. Oh my goodness. Okay, 3E, 3F, 3G, and 3H. These are all on the prints. And then we have 3I and J, and those are yellow. 3K is purple, and 3L and M are print. Okay, so this 3C is the only one it looks like that is a double, and it is also just a little wonky, and I don't believe it's supposed to be like that. So that's how it was on the template. And I feel like this is a complete error. So I'm just going to pause this video real quick. I'm going to go check out a website that has stuff that's errors on it that one of my followers graciously sent me. And then I'm going to come back and tell you how I am working with this. Okay, be right back. Hey everybody. Okay, so all of the pieces for number 3 Alice are small and a little wonky. You can see compared to the sheet I just printed out, this is way off, this one. Okay, so I did go to the website and I need to make a note to link it. I might forget to link the website if I don't write it down. So let's go to my page, and this is for Alice Link Errata, and a big star on that. See, I wrote it down, guys. Okay, I wrote it down. Hopefully I will look at my notebook. Okay, so we're gonna see if this turns out right, because look at this, all these are small. Now it did say it affected all of the pieces, but it also said it affected them on the CD, not the book. Okay, so what we need to do is start over. Now I am gonna keep these pieces just in case this is wrong. But I'm thinking that this is probably the right one. And so I'm gonna put these back in here. I'm gonna get out my scissors for paper cutting, which are the ones without the fabric. You see, with fabric, without fabric. And we're gonna make this video extra long. Okay, so if you haven't, go pause, check the link, and hopefully I put it in here, and let's get these cut out so we can cut out the fabric for this one. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be a very long video, but like I say, if there's a mistake, I would like to show you guys. And this may not be my mistake, but it is still a mistake, and so I still want to show you. So what I did here, I have some cardstock, and that's just heavy paper, so I'm just cutting it out of cardstock, which is totally fine. Because of my hands and my sometimes my arthritis flares up, I may do the entire second half of this quilt on cardstock. So use what you have. If all you have is regular paper, use that. That's fine. Just whatever you have. We just want to make sure our block is correct. So hopefully this comes out correct. And it shouldn't take me too long to cut these out. It would take probably a little shorter if I didn't curve every corner. But I am, so that's what's happening. All right, just kind of like to get them a little smaller here. So, so then we're gonna go back and sort them out again, how we had them. I could sort as I go, but I really want to get these cut out and moving. This block is really pretty. I'm actually really excited to make this block, but I also am just slightly dreading it because of how long it's going to take. And you'll see this a week or two after it happened, but I was in the hospital last night, so I'm very tired today. I should probably be resting instead of sewing, but I feel really good for right now, and I really want to sew because I did not get to sew at all yesterday except for a few minutes in the morning. Yeah, so, but I have an appointment scheduled to get the surgery that I need, and that should help fix a lot of stuff. So I am very excited about that. I've had several surgeries, so I'm not even afraid of it. Like, not something I fear at all. It is one thing that probably should give me anxiety that does not give me anxiety, and I think normal people probably get normal anxiety over stuff like that, but I do not. Thank God. Although I'll probably be very tired and cold afterwards because it's going to throw me into a state of hypothyroidism for life. So until we get my meds adjusted, but it will solve so many problems that I have. So I'm just very, very grateful that there is an opportunity to get rid of my graves. It's one of the few autoimmune diseases that have basically a cure. I wouldn't call it a cure, but it is a, what do they call it? A definitive treatment. So yay! I'm so excited for that. Like, seriously excited. I may be slowing down even more than I had planned. All right, now it's a little hard to see these because I have my printer set on draft, which makes it a little, okay. Let's do this again, guys. 3A, purple. If you've done this already, feel free to speed up. I am gonna probably do the yellow first, so I'm gonna, or the yellow and then the purple and then the print. So I'm gonna put 3C on the purple. Yeah, okay. D, and then I just have to remember that that one goes to two different ones. All right, E, F, G, H all go together. Where are you? E, E, F, G, H. Hopefully I don't put them on the wrong ones, which I may do. All right, I and J go on yellow. K goes on purple. L and M go on print. All right, let's get these cut out. On the yellow, we are doing 8 of the small triangle and 4 each of the big triangles. And then I will also do, I may just do all these at once because it's going to be a very long time. And so I'll probably just throw some music on and just cut everything out at one time instead of coming back each time. Okay, so then out of the purple, we cut 4 of A, 5 of C, 4D, and 4K. And then on this, we do 3C, so we'll move that one when we're done. 4E, 2F, 4G, 4H, 2L, and 2M. So we're gonna have to just constantly be looking back at the book to see what we are tracing, and then cutting them out should be no problem. If you cut extra out, that's fine. And yeah, here we go. Let's hope this turns out right, guys. Okay, let's get these traced and cut out. pieces and a long time. So let's get our board set up, and then I'm going to take a short break, and then I will come back and we'll start sewing. All right, a lot of this stuff looks the same, so it might be one of those days where I hit the struggle bus hard. All right, let's start with the center because that one's pretty simple. And we are just going to make a 9 patch on the on an angle. What do you call it? On point. All right, let's do this. We're not going to have much room to leave spaces because there's so many pieces, but what we're going to do is just leave a teeny tiny little space because we're going to sew these in rows before we sew them together. But this will be one that we work on. Okay, now let's go to the corners and attempt to put the right pieces where they belong. So it looks like, some of these long ones here. And you just kind of have to play around until you find out what goes where. That is not right. This does go down there though. Okay. And it can take a bit, since there's so many pieces, to figure out what goes where. Okay, then we have, I think I cut out too many of these. That might have been an errata thing that I just didn't see. Okay, leave a little gap here. And again, a little gap there. Yeah, I may have too many here. Okay. I don't see any more of these. So this is an error in the book. And so I am just going to write in my book, cut 2, and C errata for correct pieces. All right, there we go. That way, if I ever make this quilt again, I know that this one is wrong and we have to go find all the stuff. Okay. Now, I'm just going to leave these out just in case I'm not seeing something, but I'm pretty sure we don't need these because it had 3E cut 4 and 3L cut 2. And I think this was supposed to be a cut 2, not a cut 4. So I'm going to put that aside just in case. And we are going to grab these itty bitty teeny tinies and overlap those. Ah, goodness. Okay. Overlap those. All right. And this will be our corner triangle unit. There we go. Sometimes these ones with a lot of pieces and a lot of similar pieces get me all out of whack. Okay, that looks correct. So now let's move in and start with these. And we'll leave a gap, just like that. And put one in the center of each side. All right, and then we're going to get these pieces and put one on each side and leave a tiny little gap. And again, that's going to be because we sew certain pieces together first. And so we want to leave a gap just so we remember not to sew those together first. We need to sew these together first. All right, short side should be in toward the purple. All right. And then we're going to take the tiny yellows and put the long side right next to those. So we're going to make a rectangle and then a square. So it looks a lot easier than it is. It really, it looks a lot harder than it is, but we're really not doing anything different than we've done before. If you've started at the beginning. All right, last pieces may or may not fit. Put the short angle towards the center and the, yeah, I'm bad with angles. I did not do good in geometry, so I can't tell you what kind of angle that is. I know right angles, but if you're watching, put them like this. All right, this is getting a little squishy down there. Okay, now these are also a little difficult. So, they're so similar. Okay, short edge goes over there. We are going to butt these up together. Okay, so this one goes on the right of all of them. And this goes on the left of all of them. Oh, I think this was a little easier than I had in mind when I got ready to do this. Okay, this is what our board should look like. And again, my camera just distorts stuff a little bit. So the purple is just a hair darker and the yellow is just a bit more mustardy and darker. It shows up very lemony on here. Today it's not quite as lemony as it has been in the past. But okay, so I'm going to take a short break and then I will be back and we'll start sewing. If you did cut 4 of these, just take 2, put them in your scraps, and I'm sure we will do something with 1930s prints at some point, which is why I'm saving all my scraps. So put these in your scrap bucket and make a little note in your book that 3E is cut 2, not 4. And to see errata for the correct pieces and sizes. All right, I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We are going to start sewing this together. Let's get a little bit of coffee first. Okay, so I think we're going to start with this center block here. And what we're going to do is we're going to mark on the back of these. I'm going to mark on the back of, sorry, I'm saying a lot, of the print one. So I'm going to mark my 1/4 inch seam on 2 sides of this one, and then just on one side of both of these. And so then we're just going to sew them in lines. And then I'll be back. is to squish these together into a square. So what I did here, I pressed everything toward the dark, and so the centerpiece got pressed in and the outer pieces get pressed out. I'll flip this one also, okay? And so what we're going to do now is just draw our 1/4 inch on both sides of the centerpiece, and then sew those together, and then I'll be back. Alrighty, we want to make sure that we line up these seams here also. So I will open that up so you can see what I mean. We want to line those up on both sides when we sew. Okay, the center is done, and when I go to press this, I may open all the seams. I'm not sure, but there are so many pieces. This one just kind of wanted to fall to the center, so that's how I pressed it. When I go to quilt it, this is just going to be a difficult quilt to quilt. So, you know, the middle probably won't get done, but these will. All right, so there's the center. We are done with that. And now I want to move out to, let's see, let's do these corners next. I'm just kind of going and picking a piece. So we have the corners, we have these pieces, and we have these pieces. So I think we'll just start with the corners here. And we are going to mark a teeny tiny little 1/4 inch seam on the back of this. And we're going to flip it over and line up these 90-degree angles here. And we're going to sew up that line there. And then we're going to press that open. And then we're going to draw a line on this one here and flip that up and sew that together. So we are making a triangle. Okay, so we're going to mark all 4 of these, and we're going to mark this, and then we're going to sew those together. Okay, so I will be back when I'm done sewing those pieces. will be one that I will probably get my iron out for. These I may have pressed the wrong way. It would have been a lot easier to press them out this way like that. And I usually do, but this one I didn't. I pressed them in. So we have this big fold in the middle. Yeah, it's a lot. So I will probably get my iron out and press those. And I am going to wait to press all the pieces until I have all of them done though. So we have these, and we have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more to make. And then I will press all of those and then we'll start assembling all the other stuff. So I am going to take another short break, and when I come back, we will start on either these or these. Okay, I'll be right back. All right, I am back, and we are going to get going on this block. So I think what we'll do is start, which one should we do? Let's work on these here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna sew the triangle to the rectangle, both of those, and there's 8 total. And then we will, and so I'll draw my line on the back of this one and then fold that down just like that. And sew that together, and I'll do it on this side, and then I'm gonna press it open. And then I'm gonna draw my line on each side of this and sew it together. And so I probably won't come back until all these pieces are put together. So just watch closely. Sew together these, sew together these, squish them together, and sew all 3 of these together to make a square. Okay, and I'll be back when we are finished with that. back and we are going to move on to the next part. So we have a couple things to do before we put this block together. We need to sew these little triangles onto this little square. And so we need to do that. So we're going to do this first. And then we also need to sew these together. And then we can sew our big triangles, our center strip, and scrunch it all together and finish our block. So first off, we're going to do this one. And so I'm going to draw on the back of my triangle my 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then just like I showed you, flip that over, sew that together, and then I'll be back. Here we go. Okay, our next step is to sew these sides together. And so I'm going to draw my 1/4 inch seam on one side. And on these, we're going to have to sew one together and then press and then sew the other one together also. So what I'll do is line this one up. And I am going to, it's going to be a little funky, but we want to make sure that these corners are lined up here. All right, so like I said, it's gonna look a little strange. And then we will need to press this open before we put the next one on. And so I'm gonna draw my lines. Let's see, make sure I put this down right so I don't mess it up. I'm gonna draw all my lines on all of these pieces first, just so I make sure not to get them backwards, because it'll be really easy to flip them and sew them on wrong. And so I'm going to draw on these instead of the purple. And then I believe we're going to have to press these toward the yellow. When I press to these, I'm going to have to probably redo these. These are just a big mess. So because I pressed these this way and then I went up instead of down, and I might just leave them and just give them a really good press. I might need to open them or move them the other way. I really wanted everything to go toward the dark, but these will be better served going toward the light. So when we sew them on, we're just going to open them like that and just kind of like fold them down, and that'll make the next one easier to put on. So let's get all these 8 pieces sewn on, and then I'll be back. I had to take a short break. I am back and we are going to finish this block. It is so adorable. I love the colors. Of course, you know, purple's my favorite. Just check out my purple Stanley. I love purple. You know what I really love is purple and green together. And so these little bits of minty green in here are just so fun. So let me grab a drink while I have my purple cup. And we are going to sew these units together. First, we are going to, I think I'll draw the line on the back of these triangles. And then we're going to make sure these corners here are lined up. And this curve will fit into this. It's really, there's a point here, but it kind of makes a curve. So that'll fit in there. So make sure that's together. And then we'll press that open and we can put this one on at the same time without having to press first. So we'll do these two and then we'll do the same thing to this triangle. And then in here, I'm just going to draw on the back of, I'm not sure yet, maybe these. And then we're going to sew this to this and this to this. And when we sew these together, we want to make sure we match these seams up. And so when I pin those together, you will see me just kind of, oh, I did press that the wrong way. Let me turn that. Okay, I didn't press it the wrong way. I had it turned the wrong way. If you pressed it right, you should have one going out and these going in. And it makes these so much easier to nest. And you can just really feel that if you run your fingers over that, you can feel those seams nesting. And that's just them matching up. Okay, so we're gonna match those seams up and get those sewn together. So we have 2, 4, 6 seams, and then we're gonna squish it all together and finish this block. Here we go. And I think by now you can guess what we need to do. And that is sew these pieces onto the centerpiece. Now, we're gonna do the same thing we did with the center. We're gonna match these seams up, and the center seam should match up naturally, but we just want to keep an eye on that also and make sure they all match up. And you know, this is one of those blocks that I probably should have pressed everything open like I normally do, but I didn't. And so I'm going to have a little trouble, you know, just getting some of these seams, matched up right. I might actually... let me do that now. I'm gonna press this the other way, just these center ones, because then they will match up much better and they'll nest. The way I have them pressed now, not so much. And I had thought about taking an iron to this and pressing it. I haven't needed to yet, and so I'm not going to get the iron out until the very end, which is coming very soon. But I'm gonna get these just like, sorry, my nose is very runny. I'm gonna get these pressed together. Pressed together, oh my goodness. Brain, come on. I'm gonna get these sewn together, and then I am gonna press it before we end the video just to get it all pressed good and to get a good picture of it for the thumbnail, because I always pull my thumbnails from the video. But yeah, so like these are flopping around and stuff. So I'm gonna do my 1/4 inch seam on the back of these, and then I'm going to put them on the center. And so we just have those 2 seams left, and then I'm gonna press it, and then I'll be back and we'll measure and see how it looks. All right, here we go. we are finished with number 3, Alice. Find somewhere to put my mat. All right, let's take a look at this. This will look super cool when it's set in on point. Much better than when it's regular. I actually like it both ways, but I really like it this way. It reminds me of a compass. Does it remind you guys of a compass with these short points and then the long points? Yeah, I just love that. Okay, let's check the size. And it looks like we're just a little teeny bit short all around. Nothing that's going to make a big difference. When we set it in, it is enough that we can stretch it a little bit. See how they're a little stretchy? And where it's not too short, I will be able to do that when we set it in. So I'll just have to keep in mind that this one is a little teeny bit short. So you might want to sew a little closer to the line on this one. I don't want to say sew on the line, or it could also very much have to do with how I press the seams. As you can see, like when you press them, sometimes there's just a little more here. So if I had pressed those open, it may have been perfect. Either way, I'm not worried about this one. I would not redo it for that tiny little bit because these are very stretchy fabrics, very forgiving, and I will be able to get that in just fine. Not worried one bit. Okay, guys. There you go. That is number 3, Alice, and I will see you for the next one. All right. Bye.